I found a burner phone in my wife's car. The person she was texting was me. But I never sent those messages. You know that slow burn panic that crawls under your skin when something feels off, but you can't explain it? That was me for months. I'm 34. Been married to Jessica for 5 years. We met at a music festival. She spilled beer on my shirt and laughed like it was the best thing that ever happened. I fell for her right there, drunk and covered in IPA. She was spontaneous, wild in this magnetic way. I was the steady one. We worked, or so I thought. Lately, she'd been distant. Not in a loud, dramatic way, more like little absences. The kind you don't notice until they start stacking up. She started staying late after work. Said she had deadlines. But when I offered to drop off dinner one night, she panicked. Said her office had a no visitors policy after hours. That didn't sound real to me. I let it go. I kept letting things go. Until one morning, about 3 weeks ago, I drove her car to get the brakes looked at. And that's when everything cracked open. There was a phone, wedged between the passenger seat and the center console. Not hers. Old, cheap Android. No case. No lock screen. I knew right away it wasn't her regular phone. Hers was always on her, surgically attached. This thing was dusty, forgotten looking. Like it had slipped through time. I sat in the mechanic's parking lot, staring at it in my lap, heart thumping like I'd stolen something. My palms were slick. I knew I shouldn't open it. I did anyway. There were only a few apps. Texts. Calculator. Maps. No social media. I opened the messages. The only thread was with a contact saved as J. I tapped it. And that's when I saw something that made the air go tight in my chest. The person she was texting was me. Or someone pretending to be me. The texts were from weeks ago. Things like, "You always know what to say. I feel seen when I'm with you. I can't stop thinking about the cabin." And the replies were, affectionate, playful, romantic. But they weren't mine. I sat there, scrolling through a relationship I didn't remember having. A version of me that said all the right things. Called her, sweet girl. Quoted her favorite movie lines. Brought up memories I didn't live. My throat went dry. I felt sick. Because these weren't random. This wasn't just someone catfishing her. Whoever was doing this, they knew me. Us. They knew the cabin. That was our spot. Middle of nowhere, no cell signal, just firewood and silence. We went there every fall. We hadn't been this year. I kept reading. The most recent message was from 3 days ago. "He doesn't look at me like you do. I miss your eyes." And the reply, "Soon. I'll call when it's safe." Safe from what? The mechanic knocked on the window and I jumped like I'd been shot. I shoved the burner into the glove box and pretended nothing happened. The brakes were fine. But everything else was about to fall apart. I didn't sleep that night. Jessica was curled up next to me, dead to the world, her breathing soft and even. Meanwhile, I stared at the ceiling, wired with questions I couldn't ask out loud. Who was she texting? Why was she pretending it was me? Was it a game? Some twisted therapy exercise? Or had she just split me in two? The next morning, I got up early. Earlier than usual. I needed to see that phone again. Needed to hold it in my hand and confirm I hadn't imagined it. I slipped out to the garage, heart pounding like I was defusing a bomb. Opened her car door. Glove box, empty. Gone. That stupid little gray phone had vanished like it had never existed. I stood there frozen, one hand on the open door, staring into the nothing, trying to swallow the heat crawling up my neck. I double-checked the seats, the floor mats, even under the damn spare tire in the trunk. Nothing. I went back inside. She was making coffee like it was any other Wednesday. Wore one of my hoodies. Hair up in a loose bun. She smiled when she saw me. That smile almost broke me. I watched her move around the kitchen, humming under her breath, and all I could think was, how long has she been lying to me like this? I finally asked, trying to sound casual, "Hey, did you clean your car out recently?" She didn't even look up. Just said, "Yeah." There was too much junk piling up. That was it. No questions. No curiosity. No, why? And that's when I realized something, off. A pattern. She never asked me anything anymore. Not how work was. Not who I was meeting for lunch. Not why I'd been quiet for 3 days straight. It used to matter. Now, it didn't even register. I waited for her to leave, then I went full psycho. I searched every inch of that house. Top to bottom. Laundry baskets. Inside boots. Beneath loose floorboards in the hall closet. I even popped the vent cover in our bathroom. Nothing. But what I did find was worse. Buried in the junk drawer, behind old receipts, dead batteries, a couple rubber bands, was a post-it note with a number on it. 11 digits. No name. I typed it into my phone. No results. No social profiles. But I could feel it in my gut, this number was connected. The kind of number you don't want linked to anything. I debated texting it. Chickened out. Called it instead. No ringtone. Just a cold, robotic, this number is no longer in service. I sat there at the kitchen counter, staring at the post-it like it was a cursed object, trying to make sense of all of it. And then it hit me. What if she was texting herself? I know how insane that sounds, but think about it, the phone had no lock screen. One contact. Just, J. She could have been writing both sides. Building a relationship. With someone she wished I was. Or maybe someone I used to be. I couldn't stop thinking about that one message. I miss your eyes. That's not something you say to a stranger. That's something you say to someone you've memorized. Someone you've stared at for years. Someone you've stopped looking at. That night, I decided to test it. We were on the couch. I paused the show, looked over at her, and said quietly, "When's the last time we went to the cabin?" She blinked, caught off guard. Last year, I think. October. It was the one with the broken fireplace, right? She frowned. No, that was 2 years ago. Last year was the one with the outdoor tub. She was right. That was the correct memory. But she was looking at me now, really looking, like she was trying to figure out what I was doing. I nodded. Just thinking about it lately. She softened. I miss it too. We watched another 20 minutes of the show before she turned to me and said, "You never ask me anymore." I didn't answer. I didn't have the stomach to say what I really wanted. Ask you what? Who you're texting behind my back. Why you needed a whole other version of me to be happy. Instead, I said, "I guess I don't know what to ask." She got quiet, pulled the blanket tighter, said, "Neither do I." And that silence sat between us like a third person. Watching. Listening. I stayed up late again, pacing the hallway while she slept. I felt like I was slipping through something I couldn't grab, like there was a hidden script playing behind our marriage, and I was the last to read it. I didn't know yet that I was already in the final act. The next time I saw the burner phone, it wasn't in the glove box. It was in her goddamn purse. I wasn't snooping. Not exactly. We were getting ready to leave for dinner with some friends. One of those performative double dates where we both pretend we're still a team. She left her purse on the bed while she was in the shower, and I went to grab her keys. That's when I saw it. Peeking out of an unzipped inner pocket like it was daring me. Same phone. Same cracked corner on the screen. Same cheap, rubbery texture. I swear to God, my hand shook picking it up. I turned it on. Still no password. The messages were back. All still under, J. But this time, the tone had changed. The most recent one just said, "I think he's getting suspicious." Sent 2 hours ago. Right before we left the house. I scrolled back. I'd missed so much. Dozens of texts from the last few days. Little moments. Check-ins. Photos I hadn't taken, of her at lunch, at the park, laying in bed. And then I saw it. A picture of her. In our living room. Wearing lingerie I hadn't seen in over a year. Captioned, "Would you still pick me now?" I dropped the phone on the bed like it burned. She came out of the shower in a towel, hair damp, skin pink from the heat. Caught me staring at the bed. Saw the phone. We locked eyes. She froze for half a second. Then she said, calm and flat, "You shouldn't be reading that." I couldn't even speak. I just pointed at it. My voice barely worked. "What the hell is this?" She walked over slowly. Picked it up. Didn't panic. Didn't explain. Just sighed. Then said, "It's not what you think." That's the sentence people use when they've already decided it doesn't matter what you think. I asked, "Who is he?" She didn't flinch. "Just a friend. From before you." I felt my stomach drop. "You're texting him like you're cheating on me with me." She looked away. Whispered, "I didn't think you'd ever find it." That hit harder than anything else. Not even denial. Just quiet confirmation that the version of me in that phone, the sweet, poetic, emotionally available man, was the one she wanted. And he wasn't real. Not anymore. I pressed, "So what is this? Some fantasy? Are you writing letters to your high school boyfriend like he's me? She sat down on the bed, still wrapped in the towel, hands trembling. Finally. I was lonely, she said. And you weren't listening. I was pacing now, back and forth across the bedroom floor like a caged animal. So you created your own version of me? On a burner phone? Like this is a damn movie? Her voice cracked. He's not fake. That stopped me cold. I stared at her. She looked up at me, eyes shining. He's real. We were together before I met you. He lives out of state now. We reconnected a few months ago. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I actually laughed. A bitter, broken sound I didn't recognize. Go this far? I said. You're sexting him in our house. You're sending him pictures in our bed. You're meeting up at the cabin. She flinched at that. Gotcha. I stepped closer. My voice dropped. That's why you kept bringing it up. The cabin. The only place with no signal. No GPS off the grid. She didn't deny it. Just sat there, silently crying. The towel slipping slightly off one shoulder. She didn't fix it. I asked, how long? She shook her head. Whispered, I don't know. I pressed, louder this time. How long, Jess? She finally looked at me. Eyes full of some twisted mix of guilt and longing. Since July. July. That was when I got that big promotion. When I started traveling more. Working late. Thinking I was providing for us. Meanwhile, she was rebuilding a fantasy out of someone she left behind years ago. I sat down on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. My whole body felt like it was humming with rage and grief and shame. You pretended it was me, I said. That's the part one can't get past. She sniffed. Because I missed you. But not the you that's here now. The one who used to bring me flowers just because. Who used to talk to me like I mattered. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her how many times I'd tried. How many dinners I'd cooked, only to eat them alone because she was working late. How many times I reached for her in bed, only to be met with her turned back. But I didn't say any of that. I just said, so what happens now? She stared at the floor. Said nothing. That silence told me everything. The next morning, she was gone. Not like missing person gone. Just, not home. No note. No text. Her car was gone from the driveway. I sat in the kitchen with a half-empty mug of coffee and the phone in my hands. That cursed burner. I didn't even care if she saw me with it anymore. I went through every message, every photo, trying to find some kind of timeline, some pattern, some place they might have met. But most of the photos were close-up, cropped, no backgrounds, no location data. Except one. A picture of her hands. Holding a mug. Same chipped ceramic one we kept at the cabin. She hadn't been lying. They'd been there. I wanted to throw the phone through a wall. Instead, I powered it off, shoved it into the freezer like that would kill it for good. Childish, maybe. But I needed it cold. Dead. Silent. She came back around noon. Walked in with her keys and sunglasses like it was just another Saturday. I didn't speak. Just watched her. She said, quietly, I went for a drive. I nodded, slow. Alone. She dropped the keys in the bowl by the door. Yes. I stood. I don't believe you. She didn't argue. Just exhaled, shaky. I didn't go to see him. I swear. I needed space. I should have screamed. I should have thrown something. But instead, I asked, do you love him? She froze. One hand still on her sunglasses. When she finally answered, she didn't look at me. I don't know. That hit harder than a yes. At least a yes has clarity. I don't know, is rot. Decay. It's a wound you're too afraid to clean, so you let it fester. I stepped closer. Did you ever stop loving me? She whispered, you stopped being you. I laughed, short, bitter. So you replaced me with someone you could script. Her eyes flicked up. And that's when I saw it, something behind them. Not guilt. Not even sorrow. Defensiveness. She said, he remembers things you don't. That one line split something open inside me. Because she was right. I had forgotten things. Little things. Which song played on our first road trip. What book she read when her mom got sick. What she wore the first time she met my friends. I used to remember all of it. But life gets loud. Work got heavy. And the part of me that used to be tuned into her like radio static just drifted. I looked at her. Did you keep talking to him all these years? She hesitated. Then said, after we got married, no. But this year. I found him on Facebook. I just wanted to say hi. I stared at her. You opened a door and walked through it. That wasn't an accident. Silence. Then, I didn't think you'd notice. That line. That F*** king line. I didn't think you'd notice. That's when I realized what this really was. Not a mistake. Not even a love triangle. It was subtraction. She'd been slowly subtracting herself from our life, hoping I wouldn't do the math. Hoping I'd be too distracted, too trusting, too tired to see the truth. I asked, low and tight, are you planning to leave me? She didn't answer. So I asked again, louder this time. Jess. Are you leaving me for him? She finally looked up. And said, no. I'm leaving for me. That's when I lost it. I slammed my hand against the fridge. Loud. Sharp. Her shoulders jerked but she didn't scream. Just stood there, jaw clenched, eyes wet. I said, you rewrote our whole story so you could feel like the victim. She snapped back, because I was. You stopped seeing me. You stopped trying. I shouted, so you disappeared behind a fake version of me instead. What kind of psychotic workaround is that? She grabbed her coat. I'm going to my sister's. I stepped in front of the door. No. You're going to his, aren't you? That was it. The mask dropped. Her face cracked open, raw, flushed, furious. Fine, she spat. Yes. I'm going to see him. Because I don't know what's real anymore, but I do know that you look at me like I'm a problem now. And he looks at me like I'm still the girl he fell in love with. I backed up, hands shaking. Because he never had to live with you. That landed. She flinched like I'd slapped her. She walked out. No bags. No apology. Just keys, coat, and a look that said, you did this to yourself. I stood in that doorway for 10 straight minutes, chest heaving, heart cracked wide open, still trying to believe this was my life now. And then I remembered something she said the night before. He's not fake. I had a name now. A timeline. And I wasn't done digging. I found him. It took 2 days, a burner account, a paid background search, and a very late-night DM to a friend of hers from college. But I found him. His name was Daniel. Lived 2 states over. Divorced. Managed some kind of small business tech consultancy. His Instagram was private. His Facebook hadn't been updated in months. But the photos that were still up, matched the timeline. One in particular, a blurry cabin selfie from October. Leaves turning in the background, fire pit lit, 2 mugs on a table. Only 1 person in frame. But the second mug, that was the same set I bought for our anniversary. The one Jess claimed we left behind at the rental last year. I stared at that post for hours. It wasn't the cheating that broke me. Not even the lies. It was realizing she was rehearsing a life with someone else before she'd even let ours fall apart. I waited until she came home. She walked in like she lived here. Tossed her bag down, kicked off her shoes, and went straight to the fridge. No explanation. No apology. Just casual silence, like we'd hit pause and now she was pressing play again. I said, you saw him. She closed the fridge. Didn't turn around. Yeah. I waited. Then, and she finally faced me. Tired. Eyes ringed with red, but hard behind it. Like she'd made peace with the mess. I needed to see if it was real. And was it? She shook her head, slow. No. Not the way I wanted. I almost laughed. So what? He didn't live up to the script you wrote for him. She didn't answer that. Instead, she said something I didn't expect. I don't know who I was talking to anymore. I stared at her. What does that mean? She sank into the chair by the counter. Rubbed her eyes like she could erase the last year from her face. He didn't remember half the stuff I did, she said. The jokes. The stories. Even the cabin, it was just a place to him. Not magic. Not what I built up in my head. I stood there, arms crossed, trying to keep from cracking. So you built this whole fantasy relationship. With a man you barely knew anymore. Then gave him my face. She looked up at me. Because I wanted you to say those things. I walked out of the kitchen. Pacing now, trying not to punch a wall. You could have just told me. That you missed me. That you missed us. Her voice followed me. I did. But you stopped hearing me. Then scream, I snapped. Shake me. Burn the whole house down. But don't rewrite history and act like I never loved you. She stood, suddenly. Walked over. Close now. Too close. I didn't want a divorce, she said. I just wanted to feel wanted. My throat tightened. You could have had that, I said. You still could've. She shook her head. Not from someone who only sees me when I leave. That was the kill shot. She stepped back. I'm not staying. I nodded, slow, numb. Where will you go? She shrugged. My sisters, maybe. Don't worry. Not him. And then she said it, almost as an afterthought. I deleted everything. The messages. The pictures. Even the phone. I didn't respond. I couldn't. She walked to the door. Paused with her hand on the knob. Said, soft, I really did love you. I stared at her back. The shape of someone who used to be home. Yeah, I said. I loved you too. And the version of you I was still trying to find. She nodded. Opened the door. And just like that, she was gone. It's been 3 months. I still have the burner phone. She didn't delete it. She thought she did. But I'd backed up everything. All the texts. The photos. The little love notes she wrote to the man she wanted me to be. Some nights, I read them like a stranger. And weirdly, sometimes I cry for her. Not because I miss her, though maybe I do, but because I finally understand how lonely she must have been. We were standing side by side, sleeping in the same bed, and we'd both been writing different stories. I thought I was living a quiet life. She thought she was trapped in a dead one. We were both wrong. And now I'm learning to speak again. To ask questions. To look. To remember. Because I don't ever want to be someone's ghost again.